Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Bible Journaling. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of this technique, and I am here with another set to show you how to create this watercolor image in your Bible. So this is from our newest release from January of 2019, and we are ready to get going. So in addition to this set called Build My Life, we are going to need a few other things. So from the flower set, we're going to need this little filler flower here. And then in the foliage set, these two little branches and the vine. Okay, so that's all we need to get going. We're going to use almost every piece in that, in this set. We're going to use the two little pots, the windows, and the background. Okay, so I've prepped my page. I'm all ready to get going. So let's go ahead and stamp the basic images. So we're going to use a dark brown first, and we're just going to ink this all up. Use the side of your marker. And then I'm going to go back over it with the dark blue. So back over the top. And I don't want this to be too dark in my Bible, so I'm going to just stamp it off on another piece of paper and just get some of that dark color off. And then I am going to stamp it probably right about here, kind of in the center of my margin. And then I have a smaller window too that I'm going to stamp right above that. So I'm going to ink this up the same way. Brown. And then the blue. And this color combination kind of gives us a really nice gray, so kind of a stone color, which is what we're going for here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to stamp that off, and I'm going to stamp this right above. So I've got my two windows in here, and you can arrange these however you want to. You know, you can space them apart a little more, or you can bring them closer together. You could use just one window too, depending on how much space you want to save for writing and journaling. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to the next step, and that is to pull the color out of the line. So I'm dipping my brush in water, and I'm just going to begin this process. So I always kind of start where I think the color is going to be the darkest, and that's where the lines are close together. So I just kind of follow these lines, and really you don't need very much water at all. So be very careful about that. Just lightly follow these lines. And if you think you're getting too much color on your brush, just rinse it off and do it again. Just clean your brush off and start again. It's much better to do that than to get too much water on here. Okay, so we'll come back to this window again. We're just starting out with the basic steps here. And you can see when you start to pull this color out, you can see the color combination. So that's that brown and that blue together. And you know, we're going for something that looks like a thing, an object, not a stamped image. So we want to see that three-dimensional color in here. Okay, so we've got our windows. Now I'm going to pull some of this color to the outside. So we don't want these windows to look like they're kind of floating in space. We want to see that there's a wall behind here. So we want to kind of drag some of this color out. And we'll add some more color to this window too in a little bit. So just pull it to the outside. And actually what you're doing is you're touching the line and dragging that color out. You're actually not running your brush along the line like this. You're just touching a little bit and pulling it out, just a little bit. So just touch it and just drag it out into the background. I hope you can see that. It's really, really light. But you can see we're starting to get more of a three-dimensional image here by doing that. And I'm just pulling some of this color now to into the stones. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go on from here, and we need to kind of determine where the bottom of our wall is, and we can kind of do that by putting in our pots. So I'm going to use a positioner. And for those of you, if you have never seen a positioner before, it comes like this. It's a little L bar, and it's just used to position little stamps to make sure you're getting things in the right place. So you can use the little acrylic shield like this or like this, either way. If you have a big stamp, it's easier like this so that you can hold it. But most of the time, I just use it like this, and it comes together in a set. And basically what you want to do is place that acrylic shield into the corner and then ink your stamp. And I'm just going to ink this in that brown, that dark brown color. And I just inked it in the blue. So let's just take this off and do that again. So now I'm going to ink it in the brown. And no harm done because, you know, a little bit of that blue on here is fine. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp that in the corner. So I'm going to place that flush into the corner with my L bar, and now I can see exactly where I want to position this little jar, and I think I will put it right here. So just like so, and I just need to huff on it. So just huff on it and then stamp it back in. So place that, remove the shield, and then stamp that back. So super, super easy to use and just such a great tool because sometimes you just can't guess. And you know, with watercolor and watercolor stamps, they will always be rubber. So for those of you who have been stamping, you probably have some clear stamps in your collection. But watercolor stamps will always be rubber because they don't hold the color. Clear stamps don't hold the color the same way as rubber does. So rubber just works so much better with this technique. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me make sure you can see that. And let's pull the color out of the lines of these little jars. So we're doing the same thing again. Just pulling our color out. Make sure that you don't cross lines with your brush. Just stay in each section and make sure you show a highlight. If the pot is rounded, I want to show a highlight. Okay, so we've kind of determined the bottom of our wall, so now we need to determine where the top is. And so I am just going to take a ruler and just say the top is here. And I'm going to take a pencil. And in my journaling Bible, I have lines in here, so I can just follow those lines and just place 2 pencil lines just like that. So now we've determined where the wall is, the top and the bottom, and so we can go on to the next step. And that is to add our flowers and our foliage in. So let's do that. I'm going to start out with this branch, the larger branch, and I'm just going to ink that in dark green. So just like this, and I'm gonna just kind of grow it up from the bottom. So like that. And then I'm going to go to a smaller one. Same thing. And I'm going to just continue over and then come up this way. And up to there. Okay, and don't stress out over this. This is the easiest thing, and you know, it doesn't matter how you do it. It really doesn't. Just get some branches in there and then come back in with your foliage and you'll be good to go. So let's ink this up now. And I'm just going to stamp in some vines here. And just kind of follow these little branches. And you can kind of extend them out a little bit, especially if you've, you know, kind of prepped your paper page clear out to the text. You can just go out as far as your text is, or as far as your prep is. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and add some water to that now. And I'm going to just dip my brush, pinch it off. So it's always dip your brush and pinch it off, always. That's the routine. And just start to dab. So easy. This is the relaxing part. It honestly is. This is the most stress-free art because the hard work's kind of done for you. And, you know, by the time you have done a few projects, you have the vine and these flowers down. You know, they're not hard, and, you know, they're in everything. So by the time you've stamped them, I don't know, 900 times, you've got this down. And then it's just fun. Really is. And I know that feeling, you know, that maybe some of you have, that you don't want to mess up your Bible, and, you know, maybe you're afraid to mark in it. I've been marking in my Bible since I was a little kid, you know, highlighters and, you know, scribbles and stuff. And I just love this so much better. I just think it's so fun. And I feel like it's, you know, it's not irreverent. I feel like it's adding something beautiful to remind us of what the text says. I don't feel like that's not reverent. And I think that it's something that is going to be appreciated by your family, you know, years down the road. You know, I always think about my grandkids when I'm doing these Bibles, and I'm thinking about, you know, what do I want to say in here that will encourage my kids, you know, later. And I think that's really the cool part about doing this kind of art. And really, anyone can do it. I promise. This is so simple that don't ever think that you can't do it because you're not an artist. Don't ever think that way. Okay, let's go on to the flowers now. So we've got all of our vines and everything all softened. So I'm going to just ink a few of these little flowers and just start putting them in. And you know, you want to go in that circle. So you want to make sure that you're getting this in here. You're stamping it multiple times on top of itself. And, you know, you can do a little bud, you know, at the top. You can do some larger ones kind of down at the bottom. You can just do it however you like. I hope you're able to see that. Okay, looks good. So now we're going to just dab. And this page prep, this watercolor ground, I mean, it just works like a charm. I would never have thought this technique would work in a Bible. Never. But the watercolor ground makes all the difference. It really does. It's kind of a game changer. It makes every surface watercolor paper. So you can do this in your Bible. And if you're really concerned about just jumping into your Bible, do it in a journal first, or do it on a bookmark first. And then, you know, or start with a simple border, you know, or corner that you can do. Just start with something easy, and you'll get your confidence in no time. Okay, so we've got our flowers in here. Let's go ahead and add some little buds. I love this stamp. It works so great. So we're going to ink the little buds, and then we're going to ink the stem and just stamp it in here just a few times. So this is an accent stamp, so that means that it's not stamped on top of itself. You don't stamp it on top of itself. You're just going to put it in here a couple of times just as just kind of to make your image, you know, kind of to finalize your image. And let's just put another one here. And then when you add water, you're only adding water to the little bud. Just that. Not the stem. It's kind of fun to make a few little dots. Sometimes I do that. Take some of this color and just I don't know, add something in there. Okay, so let's go on and let's put something in these windows. So the bottom window, you might look out and see the ground. So let's put some of that in here. So I'm going to just put some green on my palette and keep this really simple, just really, really simple. So put a little green hill in, just like this, a little darker in the front, and then just put another one back in the background. And you can just kind of fade it out a little bit, make it really light. And let's just go a little darker in the foreground. And then let's put some sky in. This is that dark blue that we started with. And if you don't bring that sky all the way down to the ground, if you don't brush it in so that it touches the green, you sort of create a little cloud line. And then this one up here, we're just gonna probably see the sky. So even simpler. So we could create a little, maybe a little cloud in here. Don't stress out over this, honestly. This is not hard. Okay, so let's go on to the next step, and I'm going to add a little more color now to those jars. So let me move my Bible up so that you can see. So I'm going to add some bright brown. So this is 947. It's kind of a warm brown. And I'm just going to add a little more color now to these pots, these clay pots. Remember to always show that highlight. If you color these in where they're line to line, so in other words solid, they're going to be flat, and there's really nothing you can do to fix that. So it's really, really important to show that highlight in the center, even if it's a small pot like this one, even if it's really tiny. This is the indicator that it's round, is this. So let's just let's take one of those small pots and just bring it up to the top now and put one on the top. And I've still got my little plexiglass with that pot on it. So I'm just going to stamp one up here. And I'm just going to ink this up. And place it right in here. And then do the same process as we did with the other ones. And then add a little more color to it. Okay, that looks good. So let's continue on here. And I'm just going to, I think, make a line across the bottom, just to kind of show where this wall is. And I'm just doing it with a pencil. So just the idea. Make sure you can see that. Okay, so let's go on to the wall. So we're gonna take some color now onto the palette, and we're gonna texturize this wall now. So I'm gonna add some brown to my palette. And I'm just going to water that down, really water it down. And I'm going to start out by brushing some color underneath that little rim. And you know, with watercolor, it's the idea of things. So everything doesn't have to be colored in solid. It's much better if you don't do that. It really is. But sometimes, you know, things that are simple are a little more challenging and, you know, intimidating, because it's like you don't know where to stop, or you don't know where to put the color. It's easier when you're coloring in things line to line. But trust me, you'll be so much happier if you can just get that concept where you don't color everything in, just a little bit. And if you're not sure, leave it for a day and just come back to it and look at it again. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. I am going to just, make sure you can see this, put in some detail here. Just on that stone, just like that. And now we're going to put in our bricks. So these are so cool and they just work so great. And the key to it is making sure that you have color down first. So that's exactly what we did. We put color down first. And now we're going to cover those up. So what I did was stamp these on a Post-it note so that have a little sticky edge. So just like this. And then I'm going to cover this one up just like this. Okay, so I've got those covered up, and actually I'm going to cover these up as well. So I have a little mask here, and I'm just going to cover that pot, this one, and the little one over here. So now I've kind of protected these areas so that I can stamp over the top, and I'm not going to ruin my images that I just stamped. Okay, so one more step, and we are going to just kind of mask off this area. And I'm going to use some Post-it tape. And the reason I'm doing that is, let me show you. So this stamp it's pretty big so that you can use it in a larger area. But, you know, as with, you know, a lot of stamping, we don't necessarily need everything. So I'm going to block off this part of this area so that I don't stamp over the top. I don't need all of that area. So I'm just gonna take a piece of this Post-it tape and just kind of tape it down on the side. And that's going to protect this area so that I don't get that, don't get those bricks over here in my text. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to ink this up now with this dark brown color. And I want this to be very light. So I'm going to stamp it off. And then I'm going to stamp it in here. And then I'll do it again. And stamp it off. And just kind of work my way down. And I can actually probably do it again. So let's do a couple more here. Stamp it off. Just so that it's subtle. We don't want it to be too dark and harsh. So let's go ahead and take these masks off now. And the Post-it tape. So you can see that kind of protected that area. And we've got our bricks in here. And really, there's nothing else that you have to do. If you want to, you could come in here with a brush and just soften some of these lines if you want to, but honestly, you really don't have to even do that. It's gonna look great just the way it is. So I'm just going to now add a little sky color to the top with the blue, and we will be finished with this page. Wasn't that fun? This is so fun. Okay, that looks really good. I'm just going to add a little shadow down here where these little pots are. And date my page. And we are finished with this project, and I will be back again so that we could finish the other side of this text. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see you all next time.